Hello my fellow YouTubers, I am back to do another review. Forgive the voice, it is completely jacked up, under the weather and goofing around with Matt has led me to barely being able to talk for the day, but I think I'll be able to press through and be able to do this review for you. Today I'm reviewing a Japanese film from 1960 called, and that's glary, Jigoku. Directed by, it's on here somewhere, give me just a second. Ooh. That's why you always pre-check your DVDs before you. I know his last name is Nakigawa. Nabuyo Nakigawa. And this movie is about a young man named Shiro, who on the night of his engagement goes out driving with his friend Tamura, and they end up running over and killing a drunk Yakuza member. After that, the mother and, I thought it was sister, but it may not be sister. It may be, because, anyways, it's either sister or the girlfriend of the Yakuza member vow revenge on Shiro and Tamaro. And after this incident, Shiro's life begins to break down all around him. Eventually, his girlfriend dies, and that's not a spoiler, that's part of the plot. And he decides, and he gets a letter saying that his mother is sick, so he travels back to his hometown and finds that not only is his father cheating on his mother while she is deathly ill in the other room, but that basically this town is full of nothing but sinners, is the best way to put it. And we have a doctor who runs a nursing home, essentially, and he's in neglect, basically, doesn't really take very well care of them. And you have like a reporter who writes misinformation, you have a cop who uses his law enforcement for bad, you have all these sinners. And basically the climax of the plot is their descent into Jigoku, which means hell. This is a very good film for one thing, but also a very ahead of its time film. This came out in 1960, and it's so easy not to tell that, because the depiction of hell in this film is so vivid and creative, and you want to call it borderline psychedelic, but this is 1960. This is before psychedelia was really coming into its own. And the fact that this guy, Nakigawa, created a film that not only used a, like you would go on to see this kind of thing in other films, like the way it's shot, like hell is, nightmarish and dreamlike, and there's all kinds of fog, and there's several different colors of the frame at the same time. It's a completely and fascinating look at hell, and it kind of takes a look at the Buddhist depiction of hell, the 8 hells, where there's different stages of hell. Like there's like needle hell, and like there's a pit of blood where all the lusters go to, and there's like a boiling pot, and like it begins to break down the sinners one by one. Excuse me, one by one, and pick their punishments. And one of the most amazing punishments in this film that is, I could not believe that this was depicted like this in 1960, is one of them is filleted alive. You don't see the skin being ripped off him, but you see the aftermath, and it's just his head there, and his body, like his rib cage and his heart, and he's just a mass of just organs and bones. I was like, wow, it's very graphic and very bloody. So the fact that this is a film that came out in 1960, around the same time, if not a little earlier, than what most people know as the godfather of gore, Herschel Gordon Lewis would begin to make his gore fests. And this film has got some gory stuff in it. The guy sticking upside down with a knife through his throat, his blood leaks over his face. A man getting his hands chopped off. A guy slowly sawed in half. There's a lot of graphic stuff in the last 40 minutes of this film when they finally go down to hell. But before that, it's a fascinating character study of a cast of nothing but bad people, pretty much. Like, Shiro is not a bad guy, but his friend Tamaro is essentially, like they talk about in the documentary, is essentially a depiction of Satan. Like when you kind of first see him, he's cast a shadow and there's this light in his face and he's holding this rose. And he's basically the one that pulls Shiro into all of this madness and this ruins his life, you know. And he gets to when he gets to where his mother is. I mean, everyone other than this one girl is, you know, just not your. It's not your typical cast. I mean, it's a cast of bad guys basically. Like Shiro's not a bad guy, but he does the wrong things and basically he makes mistakes. And basically, that's like where the one thing of this movie comes is like, you know, when it comes to hell, and especially this depiction of hell, you don't have to necessarily be a bad person to go to hell. You have to make bad mistakes. You have to hang out with the wrong people. I thought it was a very creative way to look at it because a lot of times it's like, oh, you're going to hell because you're a bad person. Well, Shiro's not a bad person. Everything he's done, he feels guilty about. You know, hitting the Yakuza guy and some other things that happens, and even the death of his girlfriend. He feels is his fault because she wanted to walk and he demanded to take a taxi and the taxi wrecks and kills him. So he's not a bad person. So the fact that, you know, and I won't spoil what happens because there's a way that everybody ends up in hell, and you know, he feels bad for it. So the fact that he ends up here is, you know, almost wrong because he doesn't really deserve it, you know, because he's not a bad person, you know. I'm saying, you know, a lot of make a montage, you know, but anyways, it's a beautifully shot, it's fantastic. I mean, like, it looks great. I mean, like, it's so hard to believe, like I can sit here and talk about it all day, but unless you know what I'm talking about with the fact that, you know, how crazy, like, you need to see this film to understand, like, how come it is insane, the fact that it was made in 1960, like, it's really mind-boggling. You know, this is what a movie that's so way ahead of its time. They talk about it in the documentary too, which now I can talk about the DVD a little bit. Jigoku is a fantastic film, and this is a fantastic release of it. I don't know if you can see, but it is a Criterion DVD that features a new restored high-definition digital transfer, Building the Inferno, a new documentary on director Nobuo Nakagawa, and the making of film featuring exclusive interviews with actors Yoichi Numato, screenwriter Ichio Migawi, Nakagawa's collaborator Chiyo Katsuno, Kensuke Suzuki, and Cure and doppelganger director Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who's not related to Kira Kurosawa. Theatrical trailer, galleries of posters and from selected Nakagawa and Shinto Studios films, new and improved English subtitle translation, plus a new essay by noted Asian cinema critic Chuck Stevens. A fantastic release here. I'll crack this bad boy up and let you see the inside here. You got your it's a one discer. You get a booklet, but the fact that someone would take time to do a documentary and a nice booklet, which I haven't had time to sit down and look through, but it's very, very nice booklet with this guy Chuck Stevens. He seems to have wrote a ton about this film, and some good artwork here. That was inspirations for the film. Up here in the front too. And the transfer is great. Like, I first saw this film on TCM Underground, Her Classic Movies channel. Friday nights at like 2 o'clock, they'll play exploitation films and grindhouse style films and some art house stuff. And I caught it. I was like, man, this is such a good movie, you know. And I looked it up. I was like, wow, you know, the Criterion edition of it. And bought it on sale, and the transfer is nice. I mean, it does get grainy in some spots, but especially the scenes of hell is just beautiful, gorgeous transfer. You know, you can say what you want to about Criterion. You know, I've heard critics of it like, oh, they're so expensive, and even I have said that. It's true, they're expensive, but a lot of times you're buying what you get. You're paying for it. You know, you're paying for a great edition of a movie. And this is a fantastic edition of this film. And something about, you know, Japanese filmmakers, especially around this time, you know, him and Akira Kurosawa, just way ahead of their times. It's a film that has really inspired me a lot. Not just this last semester in college, I took an art class, and we had to do a painting based on, inspired by another person's paintings, but also bringing in inspirations from outside sources too. So I had to make a painting like another artist while making my own and using my own influences. And I picked the artist Clifford Stills, who painted with palette knives, and all of his shapes in his paintings were very sharp. And I was like, I don't know what to paint about, and it had to be abstract. I was like, I don't know what to paint about, and maybe I'll show it off on here one day. I haven't got it near me. I ended up seeing this movie, ended up painting my abstract expressionistic rendition of hell, and did pretty well. I got like a 98. So yeah, Jigoku, I love this film. It's not very talked about. I'm not sure how many people know of this film, but it's one that if you are interested, you can get a really good edition of it. So yeah, I'm losing it. It's getting worse and worse, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop this now. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.